Is Zak Crawley a good test opener? That is a question that has haunted me for a very long time now, because traditionally he's not. He's not even particularly close to being good. Of course, of everyone with more than 2,000 runs in the top 6 in Test cricket, he's very much down the end that you do not want to be at. And for many people, that would be enough. Case closed. And I understand that thinking entirely. This is only the 4th time in 38 tests that he has more than 100 runs in a match. He just doesn't score a lot of runs. That doesn't mean that he does nothing right. It's just hard to overlook. And it's the same with the fact that his father tried to build him as a test cricketer from a very young age using their wealth, flying him around the world, ensuring that he was meeting significant cricket people. That story is well known. But there are also cricket reasons why he has such a low first class average and he's still in test cricket. England saw a young batter who could disrupt bowlers off a length because of the way he liked to drive and his height. And that makes a lot of sense. Except that while in test cricket from a length, Crawley has been pretty much horrible. And most players struggle more with length than anything else. That's why it's such a good place to bowl. But Crawley was supposed to dominate or at least disrupt this length. And he's been by far his worst against it, scoring slow and getting dismissed. And you can see that against every other kind of length, he's been much better. So even the one thing he was supposed to conquer, he has not. So he doesn't make many runs, and he doesn't really alter the length of bowlers like he probably should do. So the only other thing that he's in the side for is to be a fast scorer. And he gets on that front leg, and he punishes bowlers by driving on the up. Well, since the start of his career, he's actually been one of the fastest scorers around. But a 63 strike rate doesn't really move the needle all that much. But since Bazball, he's gone up to 78. And that does make a much bigger difference. So I would say of all the things that they've tried from Zak Crawley, it has been the strike rate that's worked. However, England would say that Crawley is worth the lower average for the times when he does come off. And they are at least partly basing this on the fact that they couldn't find an opener before or even during his run in the team. If you are going to get someone who will average around 30 anyway, you might as well have the guy who strikes a little bit quicker, right? When he fails, apparently all you need to do is just get him drunk and give him a good cigar. And of course, none of this makes sense because modern English cricket doesn't make sense. Remember that England is not a fully fledged team. What McCullum did was try and assemble a side that would win more than lose by playing to their strengths. And Crawley's main strength in the England team is scoring 40 from 50 balls, the kind of innings that change the plans of bowlers and gives England's stronger middle order a fast start to capitalise on. And if on occasion he does more than that, well, that's just a bonus. And today, it was a hell of a bonus. I know that you think you could run your favourite cricket team better than those who do, but no one is going to let you do that. So why not try Wicket Cricket Manager to satisfy that urge? Pick your nation, pick your league, pick your players, and yell at them when they do poorly. You can find it in the links below or by searching for Wicket Cricket Manager in your app store today. And there are no stats to suggest that he does either of these things enough to warrant his position. The openers at the other end when Crawley has been batting have averaged 35. Then even the non-England openers in the matches that Crawley has opened in average more than he does. Even the England test matches during his career, the openers have still done better than him. Crawley is under par against every single average metric you could ever come up with. It's really only strike rate he's phenomenal with. And if you compare him to all the openers in the world during his career, his record suggests that he is below average. And not a little bit below average, way below average. This is a low mark, and I don't think anyone would argue against that. There is no creative accounting way to see what he has done more positively. These are the England openers who have shared bowlers and pitch conditions in the same matches. And Crawley just makes less runs than all of them except for Alex Lees. And for all that, I still think he's had a really good series, and that's before today. He was doing pretty much exactly what England were hoping for. For instance, hitting a boundary off the first ball was certainly sending a pretty strong message. He was bowling from the front and getting enough pesky starts to annoy the Australians regularly. And yet coming into today, Crawley had the 3rd worst control percentage of any of the batters who'd faced a lot of balls. And it should be noted, of course, that the guys around him are mostly attacking players, so they will be looser than someone like Usman Khawaja, who rarely plays a shot. But here's the most fun thing. Zak Crawley was in less control today than he was for the rest of the Ashes. And if you watch this innings, I think that made a lot of sense. Yes, this happened to be when Crawley went large, but it was also when he just had the most luck. I mean, for a long period of time, Crawley looked like he was on a mission to drag the ball back onto his own stumps. He'd hit the ball in the air several times to places that could have ended up with a fielder. He played and missed, he got top edges regularly, and his 100 was from a mistimed slap into a gap over cover's head. When he played a perfect shot, And when he did, they were absolutely exquisite. Quite often, he would follow that up with a shot that made it look like he hated the sport of cricket entirely. And the best attacking batters can be like this. Their main skill is being a goldfish. That allows them to play a cross-batted heave across the line and miss the ball in the ugliest way, only to follow it up with a cover drive so pretty that you hope that someone gets a chance to paint it. Crawley obviously has weaknesses. His two main issues are driving at balls that are a little bit too wide and a little bit too short to actually play that shot properly to, and his inability to make consistent scores at any level of the game. They're so blatant, these weaknesses, they almost punch you in the face. But he also has that mix of short memory and confidence that helps when you're trying to be an attacking batter, especially at this level. And if he didn't have those two things, today simply would not have happened. If you really looked at his career so far, it would be hard to take any confidence from it at all. He would almost be too nervous to go out on the field and bat. It is remarkable that at the age of 25, he will have already played 40 tests. But England will say that days like today are why. For the rest of us, we're just stuck with the question of whether he is any better simply because of today, because he just wasn't dismissed from all those chances. But while also having to admit that he changed the direction of this test and maybe the Ashes themselves. But even if you admit all of that, is he really any better of a player than he was before? Even after playing for England, he has still gone back to Kent and not made that many more runs. And despite today, his average as an opener is still under 30, though his overall mark has now finally safely cleared it. And if you look at him compared to all the openers with 1,500 runs, he's still quite obviously one of the worst ever. But this is the bit that haunts me. England are changing what the perceptions are. They are saying that intent is more important than average. And you watch today, and it's a streaky mess of an innings. It may be the best bad knock ever, or the worst good one. But you can't help but wonder if Zak Crawley is actually made for this particular job at this particular time. And you might say, what is he as an opener? Is he someone at the very top of his range might end up with an average of 35, but a strike rate of 80 or even 85? Is that a good opener? And is it better because it's paired with an English middle order who also smashes the ball around? And does it even matter what his overall average is if he can play a lot of small innings that upset the opposition and then occasionally do something like this? And the truth is that Zak Crawley is not a good opener in most teams. You simply cannot make that argument even in the slipstream of this huge score out here today. But he might be an ideal baseball opener. And like most things in England, it would make sense for anyone else to try this. But in the baseball verse, Crawley just works as an opener.